Hi folks, it's Pheby here, the franchise entrepreneur, and welcome to another episode. And today we are going to talk to you specifically about what comes next after the virus has left us and we're all back to, lockdown is over and we're all back to work or some form of normality. Now, it's pretty clear the financial impact that's going to be left behind from this coronavirus is going to be pretty significant to us as individuals and as businesses or business owners, and also to the world economy. Now, I saw or read an article just the other week that was comparing recessions and what's happened previously and what they expect the global impact of this recession to be. And it doesn't make pretty reading, as you might expect, that if pretty much most of the world's economies, countries' economies, have been in lockdown for a period of time, ranging from a month to maybe 3 months, it's going to have a significant impact on the wealth of the world economy. Now, to put it into perspective, the so-called experts are predicting somewhere in the region of 10 to 15% decrease in the world GDP. 15%. So even if it's somewhere between 10 and 15%, that is massive. And to put that into perspective, you have to think the last recession, which was in 2008, the overall global impact was was 1%. So a decrease of 1%. So if we hit somewhere between 10 and 15%, that's 10 to 15 times worse than the 2008 financial crisis. And to put it into even more perspective, if you go all the way back to the date of the Great Depression recession of 1930s, that was a GDP effect of 24% on the world economy. So if we hit somewhere like 15%, we're actually closer to the Great Recession and Depression of the 1930s than we are of the 2008 recession. So whichever way you look at it, it's going to be bad. And I know everyone's focus is really on the virus at the moment, which as it should be, because this is about your safety and the safety of your family. But if you're a business owner, you really need to be thinking about, what kind of impact, what kind of business am I going to come back to, assuming that I even have a business to come back to after this lockdown. The only thing, I can do is compare it to 2008. It's the recession that I actually started my Wok and Go brand and concept in. I actually opened my first store on 2008. So, right slap bang in the beginning of the recession. And I'm trying to recall what I learned from that recession so I can apply it to what's going to happen now. Obviously, the circumstances are different. That was a financial recession. This is being brought about largely by the virus, but the impact is going to be, really significant for so many people, as it already is. But it doesn't end with the virus finishing, or the virus being over. That's just the beginning. We're then left with the financial trauma and impact on the world and on every one of us afterwards. So what can we do? What did I learn from 2008? Well, one of the things I definitely learned from 2008 was that quick service restaurants flourish in that period. And it's simply because people tighten their belts. They don't treat themselves as much. So going out to sit down restaurants, treating themselves to expensive restaurants and expensive meals is one of the first things that goes. But people will still want a smaller treat. And if you can offer a good quality product at a good price, and quick service restaurants that can do both will do well. And we did well last 2008 recession. And I would expect us to do equally as well this time. Because, looking at our product, we offer almost restaurant quality food at fast food prices. So, we've got a huge advantage in the fact that we've already got a very established delivery model as well. So I think, we're pretty well placed. The other businesses that done very well at that time were coffee shops who proliferated over that period. Cafe Nero, Costa, Starbucks. And if you've got an independent coffee bar, I think, again, as long as you adapt and you pivot and make sure that you've got other offerings as well, smoothies and sandwiches and things like that, you should do quite well. Probably the saviour of the likes of Subway, because they've been suffering for a number of years. This could actually, really benefit them. The businesses that were very evidently impacted and didn't do well were the high-end restaurants, because people just simply weren't visiting them because they weren't spending the money in them. It might be slightly different in a place like London. If you've got still a quality restaurant, probably close to the city or an affluent area, you might still do okay. But I can only go by what I saw out in the regional cities, and certainly high-end restaurants, they got hammered in the short term. Casual dining, which has obviously been in a significantly downturn over the last few years, I think we'll see a renaissance as long as the quality is there. I mean, if they're bad, they're bad. Some of the ones that have gone bust have just simply not been good enough. But those that are decent and offer good value for money, I think will do really well, particularly the ones that are around the pizza kind of concepts, burgers, things like that. McDonald's always do massively well. I mean, I know they're not casual dining, they're quick service restaurant, but they will boom as they always do. Domino's, Papa John's, all of those kind of takeaways will again do well, and they did well last time. So if you're in any of those sectors, I think you're going to do well. I mean, I've got I've only just launched a pizza Neapolitan full sit-down restaurant with craft beers. Do I think that will hurt? I think it shouldn't do, because it's pizza and it's well priced. It's a good price point. It's not at the high end. It's beer, craft beer and good quality pizza. So I think that one will actually fall into the category I've just given an example of. Frank and Manca, Rudy's, Pizza Pilgrims. I think that all of those will do well, and we're in that category. So, it's going to be a bloodbath on the high street, far worse than it was in 2008. It was bad in 2008, a lot of empty shops. And if you just look at the recent news, Debenhams back into administration, Chiquito's in administration, Carluccio's. I've also seen an article on Gourmet Burger. None of these are really that surprising, but, we're only 2 weeks in and all of these businesses are already going bump. Give it another month and give it a month when we're all out of lockdown. What do you think is going to happen then, when the rents are all due again? If the government haven't stepped in to give some sort of compensation to the landlords, you're going to see landlords going bust. I mean, Into have announced that they're in trouble. I think some of the other big boys like Land Security are probably sweating on this as well. A lot of these big chains that have been around, Debenhams is an anchor chain for a lot of shopping centres as well. So it's going to be bad on High Street, but at the same time, there's going to be huge opportunities there as well, just as there were in 2008. I remember you could get some really good property deals in 2008, and I think you're going to get some excellent deals this time round. Looking at it from a personal perspective and my business, we're in all the right categories. We are quick service restaurant. We are in a sector that is very popular, on Asian food. We tick a lot of the boxes in terms of healthy eating, the delivery model as well. We franchise this business out as well, and we're well established on the franchising. Franchising will boom in this period, just as it did in 2008. And there's very good reasons for that. A lot of unemployed people, a lot of people that have been made redundant, got redundancy money, no longer have faith in the PAYE system. They want to take control of their own destiny. So what do they look for? They look for franchising, because it's a safer option for them than rather than setting up their own business from scratch. So franchising will boom, and we're well placed for that as well. Somewhere else we're really well placed for is virtual kitchens, which we've been operating our own concepts that we've designed for nearly 2 years. So we know what we're doing. The one thing that we haven't been doing is selling those virtual kitchens to the open market. We've been operating them out of our own stores. So we've got additional revenue streams coming out of our Walk and Go stores as well. So we're using this period at the moment to work on our virtual kitchens and the offering and the product that we're going to be offering to hotels, restaurants, pubs. Because if there's one thing that's probably come out of this virus and the lockdown, there's these pubs and hotels and restaurants that I've been talking about for years to get on board with this, is that they now realise that they should be in this market. Now, why would they come to us? Well, one, because we've already got 6 or 7 proven concepts ready to go and ready to be rolled out quite easily and cheaply, and our brands. You know, if you're a pub and you own, I don't know, let's just say 100 pubs, and they've all got different names, what kind of concept are you going to put into those pubs? You're going to have to create a brand. It's going to take time. It's going to take money. Our concepts that we are looking to sell to people and put them into their own kitchens, we're only charging £1,500 per concept for the license. And then obviously we take a share of the sales. But yeah, I mean, I'll talk about our virtual kitchens and our product in maybe my next podcast. But I think we're well placed. And to all of you that are listening, this is now the time for you to be thinking and planning and putting things in place for what comes next. Because if you're purely on survival mode at the moment, and obviously that is critical, and you've got to survive this period, and we've got to survive this period, it's tough. We're not earning enough cash to pay all of our bills at the moment. But equally, we are preparing a strategy for what comes next. And we've done a lot of work on it already. So when the lockdown does finish, we will hit the ground running. And that's exactly what you need to do, because otherwise you'll be left behind. You don't want to be the casualty of this, because there's going to be a lot of casualties. And it won't just be the small operators, it will be some of the big boys as well. You're already seeing some of the big boys in trouble. As I said, Carluccio's are not small business. 60 odd units they've got. Chiquito's, what's that, another 60 units? I'm not sure how many of Gourmet Burger are around, but Debenhams 120, no, more than 120. I'm not sure how many they've got, but these are not small operators. And what happens when these guys get into trouble? The landlords are going to be in trouble. So look, good deals out there in the property side, assuming that you are one of the lucky ones to survive this. So it's not all doom and gloom. If you are a high-end restaurant, then I suggest you really look to pivot now. You probably are at the moment pivoting. Maybe you're one of these restaurants that has been doing deliveries, but your mindset is probably that, I'll do this to just earn some money and keep things ticking over until we get back to business. Well, you need to be thinking that this is a permanent change for you and that you need to pivot permanently on at least some of your restaurants in order to forward in some of the categories that I've just mentioned. Meal prep is another good one for potentially some of these restaurants to get into. People want healthy meals and they want them delivered. If you can do that, and that's been popular for a number of years, but I think it's going to get really, really popular in this recession as well. That's something that you could definitely pivot to. Coffee bars always do well in a recession. It's amazing, isn't it? People don't think twice about spending £3.50, £4 for a coffee, even in a recession. But they cut back on, their actual meals that provide all the nutrients and wellness and the things that you need to function. But they're spent, as I said, £3.50, £4 for a coffee. But that's how it is, and that's what happened in 2008, and that's what I predict to carry on in 2020. Again, we're already pivoting towards that. We're already looking to collaborate with a coffee bar and help them franchise, and we're going to be partial owners of that coffee bar on the franchising side. So, we're already looking to get involved in that side of it as well, because again, I know from 2008's experience, that's where the money's going to be. So the best description I can think to describe what's maybe coming next is look at what happens in January and how people pull their belts in tighter. And that goes on for maybe 1-2 months, doesn't it, after Christmas, waiting for the dreaded credit card bill. Well, instead of it being 1 or 2 months, that's going to be people's attitude for 12 to 18 months. waiting for the credit card bill to come in every single month. And that's what you've got to have in your head. That's got to be your mindset, because it's going to be tough out there. How long will it go on for? I think we're actually bounced back pretty quickly. I don't think it's going to be a long recession. And when I say long, I think even 2008, that went on for 3 or 4 years, really, for most of us, or for most businesses. I think this would probably be 18 months, and then we'll bounce back. But, it will be really bloody in that 18 months, a lot worse than the 2008 one. I think it's going to be mayhem on the high street. But like I said, lots of opportunities there. If you're cash rich, even more opportunities. Unfortunately, most of us aren't, are we? So, opportunities to potentially buy up competition, to get really good deals with landlords. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a really interesting time. Part of me is like a bit of a sadist. I think I'm actually as long as I survive, I'm actually quite looking forward to it. So let's wrap this up. Look, hopefully I've given you some insights to what happened in 2008 and what I'm expecting to happen in 2020. It is going to be a recession. Plan for it now. Pivot now. Look at the opportunities that present themselves. But the most important thing is obviously surviving what we're going through at the moment and your health. But you've got to be thinking big recession coming. Plan for it. Look at what done well in the last recession. Coffee shops, quick service restaurants. If you're in the fast or you're in casual dining, then look for virtual kitchens. Come and talk to me about virtual kitchens. We've got 6-7 brands ready to go. Failing that, you've got to be thinking of doing them yourself. Delivery models as per, the way in which the market's been going anyway. And if you're in fine dining, look to meal prep. Look at what you're doing at the moment and do it on a bigger scale if you're already in meal prep. And look to convert some of your existing restaurants into the quick service side of things. Look, I hope this has been useful to you. I'm going to do another podcast later in the week. We're actually increasing our podcast from 1 a week to 3 times a week all the way through this period, because I think we've got some good knowledge that we can share to people. And I think hopefully that will be of use to you. And it's also a bit for my own benefit. It's actually quite nice to be able to do this in a therapeutic way whilst all of this is going on as well, being able to just talk about it and record it. So yeah, I hope you will stay well and your business comes out of this. And tune in for the next episode of The Franchise Entrepreneur, which will be in a couple of days after this one gets released. So talk to you again soon. Take care.